A cop stopped a bike because its headlight was broken. Just minutes later, 50 soldiers and military trucks showed up. What happened next was unbelievable. It all started as a normal traffic stop. A police officer pulled over a man on a bicycle because his front light wasn't working. It was late at night and the area was dark. The man on the bike was polite and did what he was told. But his bike was blocking the road, so the officer asked him to move it to the side. That's when the officer noticed something strange. There was a lot of sand on the ground where the bike had been parked. That wasn't too weird on its own. But what stood out was that this part of the road was usually kept clean by the city. Wondering why the sand was there, the officer decided to look around. What he found was even stranger. Nearby there was an old broken-down house. Its windows were smashed and the roof had fallen in. But somehow, it looked like someone had been there recently. There were tire marks leading to the front door and fresh footprints in the mud. As the officer stood there thinking about what it could mean, he suddenly heard gravel crunching under tires. Surprised? He turned and saw a long line of 50 military vehicles coming quickly. Their headlights lit up the dirt road and cast long, spooky shadows. A captain got out of the first Humvee and walked over to the officer. Confused, the officer explained why he had stopped the cyclist. The captain listened carefully, then asked to see the bike. After looking at it, the captain thanked the officer and said they were looking for 3 suspicious men who were believed to be traveling on bikes. They had gotten a tip from someone in the area and were hoping to catch them, but it looked like they had just missed them. Thinking it was just a case of mistaken identity, the officer said sorry for the trouble and watched the soldiers drive off into the dark. Once everything was quiet again, he went back to his patrol car and wrote about the event in his logbook. Still, he couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. Something about the captain's behavior and the way the other soldiers looked at him didn't feel right. He thought about the cyclist and the abandoned house. Was there more going on than the military was telling him? Was it really just a mix-up? The officer decided to dig deeper. He checked security camera footage from local stores to see if he could find the cyclist. But all the cameras had been broken or vandalized and weren't working. Not giving up, he went back to the abandoned house to look around. He found some more tire marks and footprints, but nothing that could tell him who had been there. Just when he was about to give up, he saw a small trail camera hidden in the bushes. He carefully checked it and found that it had recorded some footage a few hours before he got there. When he looked at the video, he saw 3 men unloading bikes from a van. They were dressed in dark clothes and had their faces covered with bandanas. One man looked injured and was using crutches. Another man was dragging a large duffel bag behind him. As the officer watched the video, his heart sank. These had to be the same people the military was after. But why were they in such a broken-down house? What were they planning? And why did one of them need crutches? Just then, his radio came to life. It was the captain. He wanted to know if the officer had found anything. The officer paused, then decided to trust him. He told the captain what he saw in the video and asked for help. In minutes, military vehicles returned. Soldiers searched the house and the area around it, but couldn't find the men. The only thing they discovered was a notebook hidden in the van's floor. Inside were strange symbols and drawings. They couldn't understand it, so they called in a specialist. Soon, a forensic team arrived. They studied the notebook and realized the symbols were a kind of secret code. The diagrams looked like building blueprints. But the biggest shock was still coming. One of the soldiers found a backpack hidden in the bushes. Inside were real guns, ammo, and several fake ID cards. The guns were loaded. That's when everyone realized these men weren't just criminals. They could be terrorists. The officer couldn't believe how close he had been to danger. If he hadn't asked a cyclist to move his bike, he might have been caught in a gunfight, or worse. If the house had been their base, he might have walked in during an attack. With the threat of terrorism, the military went into high alert. They set up roadblocks all over the city and checked every car. Police officers were sent out to help. But even with all their work, the three men disappeared. Days passed, then weeks. The case went cold. Life in the city slowly went back to normal. The officer was praised for his smart thinking and bravery. But he couldn't forget the look in the captain's eyes, or how the soldiers reacted when they saw the notebook. He felt like the public wasn't being told the whole truth. Something deeper was going on. Months later, the officer was going through old case files. He found the report from that traffic stop. He had almost forgotten about it, but something strange caught his eye. The captain's name had been blacked out, along with names of other soldiers. He became curious and decided to find out more. He went to the library and searched military records for hours. Finally, he found what he was looking for. The unit involved in that operation was a special forces team. The captain was actually a high-ranking officer. Why were they in such a remote place? And why so secretive? The officer wanted answers. So he found the captain and nervously approached him. To his surprise, the captain was friendly and invited him for coffee. The officer asked about the mission. At first, the captain didn't say much. But eventually, he admitted that they had been tracking international terrorists who had snuck into the country. They had been watching the abandoned house for weeks. The officer showing up had messed up their plan, so they had to act early and try to catch the suspects. The officer was shocked. He had been right in the middle of something very dangerous. The captain thanked him and even offered to give him a tour of the base. The officer was unsure, but agreed. As he walked through the base, he felt proud. These soldiers were risking their lives to protect the country, and he had helped, even just a little. Then the captain smiled, patted him on the shoulder, and said, "You got a good eye, officer. You might have a future in this." The officer laughed, but he knew the captain meant it. He had discovered a passion for solving mysteries and catching bad guys. From then on, people remembered him as the officer who stopped the wrong bike. Whenever he saw soldiers, he smiled. He knew he had helped stop something terrible. It started as a simple traffic stop, but it turned into something much bigger. It showed that even small actions can change everything.